Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed?
Can I make my site softer?
Can I make my site firmer?
Can we sleep cooler?
Sleep Number does that. Cools up to 8 times faster and lets you choose your ideal comfort on either side. Your Sleep Number setting. It's the Sleep Number biggest sale of the year. All beds on sale, up to 50% off the limited edition smart bed. Limited time. All Sleep Number smart beds offer temperature solutions for your best sleep. Check it out at a Sleep Number store or sleepnumber.com today.
Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
Waiting to rise again.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show. Brought to you by Corks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the moment you've all been waiting for.
Locking down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Friday. It means we're brought to you by Corks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp. Got a lot to cover over the next 2 hours. Got Jordan Kitchens, Cassie Spazzali back there on the ones and twos. Preston Guy, 15 minutes from right now. Going to talk some LSU football with Preston as the Tigers hit the Tiger Stadium field tomorrow night. We'll get a look at that. Want to see what Preston will be looking for inside Death Valley. 1 week to play for LSU and Clemson get it done. Of course, the Saints will be on the field tomorrow against the Broncos. I'll talk about that at the bottom of the hour. And Luke Johnson, 1 hour from right now, to discuss it as well as week 0. Give me a thumbnail on that. LSU basketball's got its non-conference schedule. So lots and lots to do over the next 2 hours. Lock us in. Let's start it the way we do every single day with our Genesis opening drive.
It's time for Hunt's opening drive, presented by Genesis of Baton Rouge.
All right, Austin Thomas visited with the media yesterday, and that is not something we've ever seen before. That's another aspect of this fall camp that has been very, very exciting for us in this business, and hopefully for you, the LSU fan. We've gotten a lot of opportunities to go watch the team practice. We'll get another one 7 days, 6 days, depending on how you want to do that math, between now and game day. And Austin Thomas has a job that didn't exist 15 years ago, didn't really exist 10 years ago. He's the general manager of the football program. And if you heard Brian Kelly talk back earlier this week, Brian Kelly talked about the fact that he just can't do everything in that job because there's not enough bandwidth, and he wouldn't be able to focus on coaching the team if all he was worried about was negotiating contracts, recruiting high school freshmen, sophomores, juniors, and seniors, making sure his players were satisfied here, monitoring the entirety of the transfer portal nationwide, and hiring staff, and making sure that his players would be developed, and understanding what the offense and defense are trying to get accomplished. Like, you get the picture. You can't do all that stuff. So you need someone in charge of the personnel department. It's the same way the NFL has to do it. And they have to deal with salaries, and this is the NFL, have to deal with salaries, and they have to deal with free agents, and they have to deal with investing percentages of the salary cap money with each individual position and each individual player every single year. And all of that stuff is certainly overseen by the head coach, but the lion's share of that work is done by this brand new front office that LSU has molded over the last really 12 months, you could even say 6 months. And Austin Thomas is the head of that. Now, I will tell you that Austin Thomas, one, is incredibly respected in the college football ranks. He has been actively pursued and actually hired by a handful of SEC teams. Texas A&M, certainly Ole Miss. LSU's had him 3 different times. He's been around the block in the SEC. He's very respected in coaching circles. He's also an incredibly nice person. Every time I think I met Austin like one time, and now every time I bump into him when I'm in the football facility, which is to interview an assistant coach, I'm in the building for a total of 8 minutes. I pop in, I do the 3-minute interview with the coach, I leave. Like, I'm trying to stay out of people's ways. It's a busy deal over there. I just laid out all the stuff they got to worry about during the fall. I'm not trying to occupy anybody's time. Austin Thomas will yell down the hallway like, "Hey, hi!" Like, and he's incredibly a nice guy. And I say those two things to lead you up to a description of his press conference. He is a politician up there in front of a microphone. He will talk. He often will not say very much while he's talking, but it'll be incredibly well spoken, and it'll be long to transcribe and listen to. So, again, there's not like a ton of earth-shattering quotes from his press conference, but I want to play a couple for you. And the first deals with the trip that he and Scott Woodward took up to Seattle during the bye week last year to learn about managing a roster financially.
Scott and I did take a trip to Seattle on our bye week last week. It was an incredible opportunity to go learn with the Seahawks organization. And again, we were all ears listening to what they had to say and what they had to tell us, right, in ways that we could maximize really our roster and the allocation of funding, right, and kind of drawing parallels between the NFL salary cap and what we do here positionally and understanding how you break that down, right? How do you build a roster? And for us, it's difficult because, you know, we're at the next level. There's a lot of transparency with the organizations. There's none in the college game. And so understanding that and be able to have kind of a matrix to launch from, I think is really important. And what they did is they really backed us and made us feel sound in our judgment in how we were building it and how we were allocating our funding across the positions and then every position within every spot within every position, right, to, again, maximize the compensation that we can pay to our players as we moved into the revenue share era.
So, to me, it's interesting that, I mean, the NFL salary cap's $280 million. LSU's not spending nearly $280 million. Yesterday, Brian Kelly said on his coach's show that LSU is spending $18 million on this. So, you understand the scales of this thing. The NFL, $280 million to fill out your roster with 53 players on it. And then you talk about college where you've got north of 85 on scholarship and you've got 18 to work with. So, your scales are very different. But what they wanted to do was understand how you value positions and how you value players. And they got their belief reinforced by looking at a professional front office. And I think that is a very, very quality avenue to explore. And LSU certainly did that. And one of the things you've got to do every single year is go to the transfer portal. In the NFL, you can sign somebody to a 6-8 year deal if you want. It doesn't happen that often, but you can sign somebody to an 8-year contract. Can't do that in college. A lot of these are 2-year deals. A lot of these are 1-year deals. So there's a lot of turnover, and you've got to be active in the transfer portal every single year. And I have no doubt that LSU can spend $15 million on a roster because, well, LSU spending $18 million on a roster this year. The question I had is, okay, you did that this year. Great. As I look around this roster, I see a lot of guys who are going to be gone next year. A lot. So can LSU keep up year over year? And Austin Thomas was kind of asked about the transfer portal, reinvesting every single year. Can you keep up?
I think the proof is in the pudding that we've been competitive in that space and will be as competitive as anybody in America. The one thing I will say is that I feel very sound in what we're doing and how we're doing it. Again, it all comes down to disciplined decision-making, right? Removing emotion, making decisions based on the facts and the data that's out there, and then experience and intuition come into play after that. But those are the things that really guide us. I think we have a great matrix as to how we've built it. And I think from there, you know, it just serves as a launching point, right? And what that does is that doesn't mean it's an end-all. It's kind of etched in sand, right? And so then there are different things that move that matrix up and down, you know, based on the talent of the player, what you have on your roster, what's available if you don't get that player. And so there are a lot of variables that kind of move it up and down from there. But I think the launching point is very sound, and I believe in it a lot, as does Coach Kelly and our staff.
And that's just a short way of saying, like, you understand that you have a baseline, and then there are going to be some variables. Like, I would just give an example. Like, we feel like, and this may be dead wrong, but we feel like LSU may be a little bit weak on the interior of the offensive line this year. Maybe they're not, but maybe they are. So if you were to realize that in spring football, and the equivalent to Trey Turner shows up in the portal. He was at Florida State. Florida State had a coach leave for the NFL. All of a sudden, he's in the portal. Like, you would maybe spend more money on guard there than you generally would because you feel like you've got a need and you've got a big-time talent. So that's very obvious stuff, but it's stuff that you never worried about 15 years ago. This is new to college football. Here's the question that everybody really wants to know. And the question is, okay, Austin, where's the money come from? You got $18 million in this team. Like, where are you getting that?
We're part of an imperfect model right now. And so we understand that there are challenges, and we're receiving guidance every week, right, as to what this looks like. For LSU, we put a plan in place about 15 months ago that allowed us to operate today where we are, right, understanding where we've been, where we are, and where we want to go. I think that gave us some advantages going into the back half of 2025 and 2026. And then from there, what we have to do is just work within the parameters of what the guidance, says and the legislation says as we get it and as it comes to us. And so we don't have all the answers right now. We're not the knower of all things, but I do think we have operated with purpose and intent in everything that we've done to put ourselves in position to not only sustain for 2025 and into 2026, but beyond.
And that's a little bit of word salad, but here's my take on it. If you're telling me, and we've been told this through reports, Brian Kelly says the roster cost $18 million. Okay, so there's a number. And we know that revenue sharing kicked in July 1st, and we know that there's $20.5 million this year to share. And we know that LSU has decided they're going to spend 75% of that on football, which is about $15 million. So that gap between 15 and 18 is only $3 million. Now, it's not my $3 million. I don't have the $3 million. But my uneducated opinion, because I don't make these phone calls, I don't ask the donors for money. I don't know how much money they have. I don't know how much money they're willing to give. I don't know how much money they've spent 10 years ago, 3 years ago, this year. I don't know that. But it feels like to me that if LSU, which is always going to have a monster budget when compared to the rest of collegiate athletics, is going to be able to share $15 million plus with the players on the football team, and you need your booster base to come up with three feels doable to me. Now, what I don't know is whether or not the $15 million plus the 3 to get to 18 has put together a championship level team. I don't know that. I feel good about that football team that I've watched in practice. I feel good about it. But I don't know. Clemson might beat them by 30 next week. They might beat Clemson by 30 next week. I don't know. So I don't know what the result of the $18 million is going to be. I do feel like, again, this is an opinion, that $3 million for the booster base is doable. Year over year over year. I feel like LSU has enough people in this state that are fans of this program that they can come up with $3 million annually. And that revenue share number is just going to keep going up. And the number of players who are on the roster is not going to go up. So you're just essentially going to have to bridge a gap to competitiveness from the revenue sharing to that competitive level. Maybe it's $18 million. Maybe you need to spend 21. I don't know. But it feels more doable when I get those numbers laid out to me than, okay, blank slate, everybody can pay players. LSU, go swim in the water with A&M and Texas and Georgia and Ohio State. See how you do. That's intimidating to me. That hypothetical is intimidating to me as an LSU fan. That, hey, you need to bridge the gap with $3 million a year. That seems doable. I don't know if it is or not. It seems doable. I wrote a little bit about it at LouisianaSports.net. Austin Thomas spoke for 25 minutes yesterday, and I think that you can kind of take some of it out of there, and then some of it was a little bit fluffy. But the biggest point I took from it is they've got a plan. They're going to share a significant amount of money revenue-wise. They felt competitive this past year, and they feel like they've got a plan to be competitive moving forward. What we don't know yet, and what they don't know yet, is what that money they've spent on this roster will produce. And I think we'll have a pretty damn good idea 8 days from now. Won't tell the whole story. Labor Day weekend does not tell the whole story for any team in the country. But it might tell a good piece of the story. We'll see. That's Austin Thomas, our Genesis opening drive. Let's take a timeout. Come back with Preston Guy. TigerBait.com next.
The Hunt Palmer Show. You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show. Brought to you by Corks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp.
Friday shows brought to you by Cork's Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. Still lots to do over the course of the next couple of hours. Luke Johnson with us at the top of hour number 2 o'clock. Straight up, we'll talk Saints and Broncos. My thoughts on the preseason finale that's coming up tomorrow here in about 15 minutes. But let's talk to Preston Guy, TigerBait.com. Talk a little bit of LSU football, and it appears, based on his Twitter feed, maybe a little food review as well. Preston, how we doing?
Boy, you are on it. I think I hit send while I was on hold on this. So, Tiger Stadium was spicing up their concessions this year. It was pretty good. They brought us out to come get a sample.
I have not eaten concessions inside Tiger Stadium in a very long time because I'm in the press box every week. But I do like the idea of new concessions. I know they let a lot of the media in there to give a sample. It looked like I saw a chicken sandwich potentially, maybe some wings. What can you tell us about the samples today?
Yeah, some barbecue wings that were actually pretty good. Some cock wings and things. Never heard of them. Maybe I'll get roasted in the chat for not knowing it. The peach cobbler had a really good peach cobbler. That was awesome. Some barbecue nachos, some boudin, barbecue chicken sandwich. Of course, the Kona ice snowballs. I'm not sure that that's new, or maybe they're just adding more of it in. But in the Aramark food, I thought was pretty good too. It kind of looks like some nice little pepperoni hot dogs, cheesy hot dog. It was all pretty good. Crawfish nachos, a good little burger. It was a nice little sample of the town. They're definitely putting some work into making the game day atmosphere better. And they've put a lot of work into that over the last 15 years in general.
I like the sound of that. Let's talk a little bit of football. We'll be inside Tiger Stadium tomorrow night to watch them one more time before they shut it down and get ready for Clemson. I would have to imagine all eyes on the offensive line tomorrow for you.
Oh, yeah, for sure. So I'm hoping they give us some good live reps and hopefully even some thuds, if not, hopefully more than two-hand touch. I don't want to say tackling at the days before Clemson, but hopefully we get a good eye for what's going on. But we'll see. I imagine with media out, they're probably not going to give us too intrusive of a look.
So my question would be, who do you think is going to start at right tackle and who do you think is going to start at left guard? Because Brian Kelly has essentially left those two positions open with his answers in the press conferences.
Yeah, he did, didn't he? Man, it really seems like DJ Chester, after really holding on to that position, will be the odd man out. I still believe Weston Davis is going to hold on to that right tackle spot, although I don't think game one is going to be a done deal. Kerry Kern's obviously very talented, but Kerry Kern's had some discipline issues that I've noticed throughout practice. So we'll see. Of course, that's of most true freshman 18-year-old kids. Okay, you had some false starts, some holding calls on you. Okay, whatever. But I mean, the strength is there. So at first I thought, well, that sucks. He's having discipline issues. He's not going to get a chance to crack the starting lineup. But lo and behold, he's working in the right tackle. So I think keep an eye on that battle for sure. I'm still going to go with Weston Davis, but that left guard, I mean, man, because he did not mention DJ Chester, which I don't know if that was an oversight on his end or if, he's literally just moved on past him, giving other guys a chance. But if it's not DJ Chester, I guess I'd have to go with Paul Mabinga. But that one, I mean, Hunt, when I say wide open, that one appears to be really wide open.
I don't know if it was an oversight or not. What I do know is there is a chance it was an oversight. It would not be the first time that Brian Kelly had fumbled a name at the press conference, and I don't really care about that. They've got position coaches and guys. It's not like he's going to forget who to put in the game next Saturday. Sometimes that just happens when you've got a roster that's turning over constantly and you're up there having to recall a ton of names. So
it happens to me on radio once a week at least.
Yeah, for sure. So it is what it is. Here's a question that is unanswerable, but I just want your thoughts on the general premise. Do you believe that the coaching staff, Joe Sloan, Cortez Hankton, Brian Kelly, are preparing for the season with the understanding that there may be issues protecting and running the ball so that they're going to have to help those guys a little bit?
Yeah, and, I think we're seeing a little bit of that in the formations we're seeing. I mean, how many 12 personnels have you seen this fall camp? A lot. It almost is like their primary formation. So, and not to say that they don't have two talented tight ends, but you certainly have a plethora of talented receivers that you would like to get on the field. I mean, you don't want to just be running three receivers at a time if you can avoid it. So, and that's, regardless of how talented Trey'Dez Green or Bauer Sharp are. I mean, you just do have a depth and a ton of receivers you want on the field. So I think they are preparing to have Bauer Sharp and Trey'Dez Green kind of provide a little bit of assistance, certainly while they get things gelled and ready, because those guys can certainly provide a little bit of assistance.
Something that I've noticed in the practices that I've attended are periods dedicated to the screen game, and a lot of variety in the screen game, from the backs to the receivers to even the tight ends. What do you think about that aspect of LSU's offense?
Well, that's exactly what we were just talking about. Well, if you have an offensive line that's struggling, and a lot of times you're lined up against a big, nasty SEC defensive lineman, you can't beat him. If you're going to go 100% full on and he's going to go 100% full on, you have to make him not be digging into the dirt, leaning on his toes, and being able to give 100% burst in him. You have to punish him for over-adjusting. So one of the things you can do to help out a struggling offensive line is some quick screens. Make it to where if he's going to just, give you a full-on burst upfield, let him run past you, let him be off balance, and then boom, right over his head, hit him with a screen. He's not playing disciplined football. Then on the next play, when it is time to run, he's not leaning forward into the dirt. He doesn't have those white knuckles going on. So yes, I think 100% of what we're seeing is a schematic adjustment to compensate in case they aren't able to get the push in the offensive line that you want. And look, I'll even go take it a step forward. I mean, think about all these goal line, these Jawan Johnson reps, and these formations where they're motioning Nussmeier out wide. Yeah. I mean, they're doing a lot of different little things, if not only to, in case they can't get a push, to do something different to still move the ball forward, but probably also to keep them, keep them guessing, keep them, off those knuckles.
Is there a second biggest question mark on this team beyond offensive line that you're honing in on?
Well, let's put it like this. There's offensive line, a wide gap, and then way down the list, probably safety, but even those safeties, they're starting to look good in practice, and there's a lot. I mean, there's a question here and there about them, but I mean, even young guys are starting to like C.J. Jeb Coyley is coming up from the rear, giving you a lot of talent. I guess the big question more so would be more toward individuals, right? Not toward units as a whole. Things like, okay, is Harold Perkins going to really find a home at that star position? Is he going to be able to cover the way he's going to need to cover? It's more so individual questions once you get past that offensive line as a unit.
Saw the show this week. Van Lathan was on for an extended period. Y'all went through wins and losses, and you settled there on 10-2. Tell me about it.
Yeah, but I tell you what, I knew I had in my gut. I think LSU loses to a team that. The better team then, and that one was real tough. I went back and forth between Alabama, South Carolina, and Oklahoma, and ultimately I said, well, the Oklahoma one could be tough. None of these guys have ever played in Oklahoma. Nobody's ever coached in Oklahoma, and LSU's never been to Oklahoma. That's a tough place to play. They're going to be playing for a lot, and LSU very well could be looking forward to the playoffs. So that's the one I went with. 10-2 is what I went for the season. I do have them dropping the opener to Clemson, albeit there's not a game on this schedule that you couldn't sit down and, maybe after a few beverages you convinced me to say, screw it, you're right. Clemson did go 0-3 against the SEC last year, and they were just a 9-4 team, and they didn't really do as much in the portal as LSU did. LSU will certainly improve more, and LSU beat South Carolina. They didn't. They lost to South Carolina. Maybe you could convince me on all 12 games why LSU will win the game and should win the game, but I think ultimately going 12-0 is a little more difficult to do, especially when there's so many good teams that can beat you. I mean, there's 6 teams or so that absolutely have the wherewithal to beat LSU this year. So you got to go out and execute that many times. And to say you're going to go 6-0 in those, that's a tough ask. So yes, I think this is a very, very good team, and I'm really pumping the brakes to hold myself on how special I think this team could be, because I'm really high on Nussmeier, especially if he takes that step forward. I think the offensive line is going to be good enough. I really do believe that, and I like the overall talent of this team. I mean, look, Brian Kelly came out and said he invested $18 million in this roster. That's not lost on me, the meaning of that, considering they rolled out a team last year that was about $5.5 million is what the reports are. So you tell me they tripled the spending, and a lot of people nationally are still expecting a similar 9-3 type result from LSU, and I just don't see that happening again. So I am internally pumping the brakes based on what my heart is telling me about this team, because logic tells me, Preston, you need to shave a couple wins off there and temper your expectations.
So we've got 5 auto qualifiers. That means there's 7 more spots. Like, did last year prove that 9-3 is not good enough, or is there a chance you can get in with 9-3? Do you think?
Well, how would we know if 9-3 wasn't good enough? They were 8-4 last year. So,
well, Alabama, South Carolina, and Ole Miss.
Sure. No, I went back and looked at LSU in the post-BCS or the BCS and after era, so 98 and later. And LSU obviously has a great number of 9-3 teams. You have about a 1 in 5 chance. I believe it was 2 out of 10, something like that I divvied up. And of course, that's based on what the AP rankings actually were. That's not to say years like 2013, where you had Mettenberger and Landry and all those guys. That's not to say that offense wouldn't have had some influence. Like, you really think this team that's ranked 13th is going to stay 13th when Odell Beckham's on their roster? Like you're going to let, like Iowa or somebody else in there over this high-flying LSU team? The Jaden Daniels team, that would have been a question whether they get in or whether they get some extra love or bump. I think 9-3, you have to be an impressive 9-3. Think about that 2018 LSU team where they beat number 2 Georgia by 20 points at home. You have to have a resume kind of like that to make it in. So I think that this schedule really does give LSU a realistic chance, as long as your 9-3 includes at least one just very impressive win, like Clemson on the road. Let's put it like this. You want to get in at 9-3, win game 1. You'll be in great shape, okay? And then pray Clemson wins the ACC.
Yeah, it'd be a really nice change of pace. We'll see if they can get it done. We'll see you inside Tiger Stadium tomorrow, and we'll talk LSU Clemson next week.
All right, see you then, Todd.
Preston Guy, TigerBait.com. Appreciate him each and every Friday. Friday shows brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish, and Shrimp. We'll step aside when we come back. I'll get you ready for Saints and Broncos in the Dome on Saturday. That's next.
The Hunt Palmer Show. This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish, and Shrimp.
Friday show is brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. Check out the menu, corksfishandshrimp.com. Knocking off of work, don't feel like going out for dinner, but you got to feed the family, don't want to cook either. Corks, they can even feed a Hester-sized family, which is very difficult to do. Check out the Big Haul. They got that on the menu as well. Can feed 4 to 5 folks. If you're looking for tailgating, got a watch party set up for LSU and Clemson next week, and you're thinking, what can I feed all these people? Corks. They give you the big old trays of those crispy fried catfish, jumbo Gulf shrimp, crispy shoestring fries. They got the coleslaw, honey butter rolls. Get you some beignet bites as well. They got it all over there at Corks. Happy to feed in bulk if need be. Check out the menu again, corksfishandshrimp.com. They're on Government between Foster and Jefferson. Corks, bring you our Friday shows every single week. All right, the Saints, one more preseason game. And I'm thrilled by the fact that Kellen Moore came to the microphone yesterday and said, we're going to play some starters in this game. That's where the Saints are. They need to play some starters. They need reps. They need reps so those starters can continue to get better. And they need some of the starters to play so that the young players have a nice ecosystem to play around. It's great to get Spencer Rattler and Tyler Shuck reps in this game. It's not as great to get them reps with a bunch of guys who are going to get cut on the field with them, who can't function. Like, that doesn't help a lot. You need to get those guys on the field and get them some solid action. So, yes, the guys that are hurt, take a seat. Taliesin Fuaga, knee acting up, sit down. Trevor Penning, can't play, fine, take a seat. But they're going to get some guys some reps, and I think that's a very, very good thing. First, let's start at quarterback, and then we'll go into a couple other things that I want to see. I think that Tyler Shuck and Spencer Rattler have both done a pretty good job in the short passing game. Ball snapped. Nothing really there. Get it out. Stay on schedule. And that's a huge part of playing quarterback. I hear Matt Flynn talk about it on the morning show. Like, that's a big deal. It's not fun to watch, but it's a big deal. And that's good. And we've also seen them stretch the field a little bit and hit some big plays. I would like the 10 to 15 yard passing game to show a little bit more pop in this game, because you're likely going to be playing against backups or guys that aren't going to make the roster for Denver, especially as the game wears on. So if you've got potential starting quarterback on the field, I need you to start hitting some more 10, 12-yard passes down the field. I need you to start fitting the ball into windows. This is as easy as it's going to get. This is the easiest game that these quarterbacks will play. You've got a month in some change of practice reps. You've got a defense that's full of guys that aren't going to be starters. Like, this is the time to make it look good. And I expect to see that. Like, I don't want to see another turnover tomorrow. It's not the end of the world. The strip sack on Rattler in the first game, the Shuck pick 6 in the first game, Rattler throws a pick in the last game. Like, those aren't the end of the world. Quarterback's going to turn the ball over. Young quarterback's going to turn the ball over. Let's not turn the ball over in this game. This should be the easiest game you play, especially if you're given some reps with your first team unit out there against guys who aren't going to make the roster. So to me, like, I expect to see a little bit more in this game. My standard is higher. It's not super high. It's not unreasonable. It's a little bit higher. And I want to see that from Rattler. And then when Shuck comes in, let's see that as well. As I've said 3 times this week, I'll repeat it very briefly here. I don't need to see Jake Hader in this game at all. Don't care to see his reps. They don't help the team. Don't need them. So that's what I want to see from the quarterback spot. Now you look at roster spots that are very much in limbo. And one of them, interestingly, is at punter. The Saints had such stability at punter for so long. They got Thomas Morstead, and he was a great punter for a long time. And they decided to move on, and they've shuffled that deck for the last couple of years, and it hasn't been very good. It was bad last year. Hayball was bad last year. So now you've got Kai Kroger, and you got James Burnip, and there's been kind of a back and forth between those two guys, and they've gotten reasonably similar reps. However, Kroger, it appears, has kind of surged there. He's gotten a few more reps in punting, and one thing that Ross Jackson, LouisianaSports.net, very aptly pointed out, he's also holding for Groupie a lot. That's a sign. I don't know Blake Groupie. He did sit down with our station Super Bowl week, and I got to meet him, but I don't know him. He certainly wouldn't know who I was if I walked up. But I'm guessing he's like most kickers, and kickers are pretty particular and pretty finicky and want things to be pretty controlled, no variables. So if you've got a guy that's doing most of the holding for the guaranteed starting kicker, he feels like he is surged ahead. So I think Kai Kroger absolutely is surging ahead of Burnip. Could something happen in this game to swing things? Sure. Do I think that's going to happen? I don't. Now let's look at running back, which is a little bit less cut and dried than punter. That's 2 guys. Here's your spot. You got a situation at running back where you know Kamara is going to be the lead guy. And it feels like, based on everything that we've read, heard, those folks we've talked to, and even what you see early in the preseason games, Kendre Miller is the second guy, right? Okay. Well, who's next? Devin Neal hasn't been out there. There's a lot of positivity around him pre-injury, but he's been hurt. What's his deal? Velus Jones, elite speed. Not a lot of production to go with the speed. And then you've got the veterans that you brought in Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who has made some plays in preseason, has done a really good job in pass protection, who can catch the ball out of the backfield, who ran hard last week. And you've got Cam Akers, who I don't think many people expect to make this roster. So to me, like, you're probably going to keep 4. Clyde has some options as far as going to the practice squad. Maybe that's what you do. I would keep Clyde over Velus Jones. I understand the intrigue with Velus Jones because of the speed that he's got. And I get that. If that's something you really prioritize, and I don't think I'm being biased in this Baton Rouge market as the guy who covers LSU and went to LSU, I don't think I'm being too biased suggesting Clyde should make the team, but I think there are some things that he brings, and one of them is durability as well. So we'll see, but running back is interesting, and those guys might be running for their jobs on Saturday afternoon. Got to keep that in mind for sure. I think that's the most intriguing. Does the newest addition, Devon Bailey, get out there and give it a shot? I think he very likely will. What does he show? At tight end, Jack Stoll, Trayton Welch. Those guys are going to have to earn their stripes until Foster Moreau and Taysom Hill return from the PUP list. Like, okay, have you proven yourself that you need to be kept around when these two proven veteran commodities show up? Might not. And then at offensive line, I just need to see better play. Like, that's not a make the team deal. That's just like, hey, Cesar Ruiz, get in front of somebody, block somebody, dominate at the point of attack against this guy who's going to get cut from the Broncos in the next 48 hours. I just need to see that, and I haven't for 2 preseason games. That's kind of my checklist. Quarterbacks, I'm thrilled you're playing. Let's work the intermediate passing game and look a little bit more crisp. This should be the easiest game you play all year. Punter, okay. Who wins that job? The other guy's probably out of a job. Running back, who's running for their job? Tight end, who can keep their job when that deck gets shuffled in the next 8 weeks? And then offensive line, play a little bit better. Show me something more than you've shown me to this point. And when you do that, you'll give me a better shot to evaluate running back. You'll give me a better shot to evaluate quarterback. That's the thing with this offensive line, is it not only hampers you in your ability to move the ball and win games, it hampers your ability to handicap the rest of the roster. So my only prediction in this entire thing with the game against Denver on Saturday is that Spencer Rattler does enough to win that week 1 job. We've talked about it 3 times this week. I'm not going to change my tune on it. I think Spencer Rattler is going to win that job, and I think he's going to hold it for the first month of the season. After that, I'm not willing to put my neck out. Anything can happen. You heard Nick Underhill on our station say that he thinks that they want Shuck to win it. You've heard folks on this station suggest, hey, it's easier to go and put the second-year player on the bench for the rookie than to put the rookie on the bench for the second-year guy. You've heard Matt Flynn talk about his time in quarterback competitions and how that usually goes with preseason reps. Everybody seems to think Rattler is surging ahead in that way, and I certainly wouldn't argue with that one bit. And I'm okay with him starting in this game on Saturday, and I'm okay with him starting the first game. Shuck's going to get his chance at one point during this fall. I'm just not sure where it's going to be, and he'll certainly get a chance to play on Saturday. Hopefully that goes really, really well. But Saints and Broncos, noon inside the Dome on Saturday. We'll certainly be talking about it on Monday's show. If you'd like to read about it, we'll have post-game stories up at louisianasports.net, as always, for free. All right, we got 1 segment to go in this hour. We got football tomorrow, college football. I'll give you a thought on a couple of games when we come back.
The Hunt Palmer Show. You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Quirks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp.
Wrapping up hour number 1, we'll have Luke Johnson in 10 minutes talking some more Saints. So week 0 tomorrow. Y'all know me well. I love football. I'm not addicted to football. I don't have to watch football because it's on. I don't have to watch the Bahamas Bowl on Tuesday in December. I don't have to watch NFL preseason. I don't even have to watch Pac-12 after dark. Like, I love football. I love Saturday night in Death Valley. I love the NFL playoffs, but I'm not addicted to it, and I don't have to watch a game just because it's on. Tomorrow's Ireland game does have my interest. I will be straight up. It is a game that I don't have to have any rooting interest in. It can't hurt me, okay? Like, when I used to watch Alabama in the whole Saban years, I had such a huge rooting interest that they would lose. Like, I would be hurt when they win, and they win all the time, and that's an uncomfortable feeling. I don't like it. So I like these national championship games that have been played over the years, recently, with no SEC teams in them. I can't get hurt. And I can't get hurt with Iowa State and Kansas State playing in Ireland. And then you mix in the fact that there are some potential, like, ramifications here with wins and losses. Like, if Navy goes and plays Notre Dame in Ireland, whatever. Like, you know, I want Notre Dame to lose, but, like, there's no potential ramifications there. This could be a conference championship type deal because these two teams think they're good enough to win it. And their quarterbacks are good. You got Avery Johnson. You got Rocco Beck. They're talented. They've made some plays. They're incumbent starters. Johnson threw for 25 touchdowns last year. That's a program record. And then Becht is thrown for 6,600 yards and 48 touchdowns in 2 years. So you've got two teams that should be reasonably adept at playing offense, so an aesthetically pleasing game that matters, that can't hurt me. I'm in. That's good. I would prefer these two teams play on their home field. Brett Bielema said yesterday or the day before that, like, the last thing he wants to do at Illinois is to take a home game out of Memorial Stadium. Like, I get that, but I'm not a fan of Kansas State or Iowa State. So to me, this is interesting football that doesn't have to get my blood pressure up, and I am in for that. I got Myers-Mann's first soccer game ever tomorrow morning. We're going to knock that out at 9 o'clock. I'm going to come on home, and I kind of got the afternoon to myself because the family's going to a birthday party that I can't go to because I got to go to the scrimmage Saturday night in Tiger Stadium. So I'm going to lock in and watch this game, and I think it's going to be good. I don't have a strong lean on a pick. If you asked me to make the pick, I'd probably take Kansas State and I'd probably lay the points with them. Can I even try to sit here and suggest that I've done enough research to feel good about that at all? No. But the point being, I'm excited to watch that game. I will tell you this. I do have a pick when it comes to gambling. If you can find the line, and it's not always you can find the line, but ESPN's got it at 26.5 as I look at this. UNLV plays Idaho State, and you would look at me and you would go, Hunt Palmer, I know damn well you don't know anything about UNLV or Idaho State. And you would be right, except for 1 point. I know one thing about UNLV. Their coach is Dan Mullen. And I've done enough SEC pick'ems over the years and picked games against the spread. When Dan Mullen's team is better, and a lot better, and he can run his offense, he will score 70. He did it at Mississippi State against the SWAC teams and against the MEAC teams and against the teams that could not compete on the level of Mississippi State. And he's going to do that in his first game at home in Vegas, Showtime. Idaho State's coming. You mark it down. UNLV will score 60 points in this game. They will cover the 26.5.
That's Jimmy out certified.
Did he say that?
No, I'm just saying that sounds like something Jimmy would say. Like I did all this. That's.
I don't know one player on UNLV's team, not one. But I have watched Dan Mullen coach.
Yes.
And he will run the football, and he will run it again, and then he'll throw it deep. And guess what? He'll bring his second-team quarterback in there, and he'll still be running those plays. They will score 60 on the game tomorrow. So if I had to play one game. And like Fresno State, Kansas is a much more intriguing game than UNLV, Idaho State. But if I had to play a game with the understanding that I don't know squat about any of these teams,
yes,
give me UNLV, Dan Mullen running up the score. That's what I'll take.
I like that.
The total in the game, 65.5, definitly take that.
Yeah, your confidence in it has sold me on that pick.
Yeah, I
I
watched him do it. You got to watch. You watch Mississippi State with Dan Mullen calling plays against North Carolina A&T that they brought in that week for week one.
Yeah,
70 to 7, just guaranteed. Now they'd go and play Auburn and get beat by 25 points.
Yeah, we ain't doing that.
When they got somebody overmatched, which I'm assuming UNLV can do to Idaho State, give me Dan Mullen.
Well, they better. It's going to be a long season.
And I got a feeling, this is just a guess. This is based in nothing. Somebody that's rich in Las Vegas paid to help Dan Mullen put a decent roster together. When he took that job, they got the NIL rolling, pre-rev share, and they found somebody that could play.
Oh, yeah.
To go play in Vegas. Somebody with money did that. So I'll take UNLV to cover the number. That's my one pick for week 0. All right, that's it for hour number 1. We're brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. Talked to LSU about Austin Thomas. Talked to LSU with Preston Guy. You can find those at Hunt on LSU. Talk Saints and what I'm looking for in the preseason finale. That's at Hunt on Saints. Luke Johnson on the other side of Sports Center, right here on a Friday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge. GenesisofBatonRouge.com. Get on by and see him. The facility is so awesome, y'all. I was in insurance for 7 years. I worked with a lot of car dealerships when I was in insurance. And this is one of the finest dealerships you will have been in. It feels like you're walking into a spa. It feels like you're walking into a 5-star resort. From the scent to the ambiance to the welcome that you get from the staff. They've got an amazing place to sit down, relax, take a load off. Maybe you can get some work done if you're sitting there waiting for the service aisle to be done. They've got an incredible coffee machine, snacks laid out. And oh, by the way, they got an incredible line of vehicles as well. It's a luxury brand at a reasonable price, and every single vehicle is a IHA top safety pick. They've got convenience. They've got amazing service, incredible facility, wonderful line of vehicles. Every single box you need checked is checked over there at Genesis of Baton Rouge. Go by and see them, Airline at Pico, or check out the entire inventory online at genesisofbatonrouge.com.